Yeah, funny enough.
Jakieś wiamondo, net. Popatrz, jak to
You meant we finished it.
Yeah, I did.
What, and then you took it down?
No, what's wrong with all the plastic got for? It's only for when it rains. But it's not. It's just cheap. So I want you to
有嚟。
Quite. It's defensive.
Yeah.
Try to tackle that first.
I know.
Oh my god. That's it. Let me know if I can still get him on the back.
There's no filming on it.
Sorry?
There's no filming.
Okay.
No camera.
Okay.
Okay? Only because there's small children.
Yeah, I know. I never know.
Tito Ortiz. Yeah, Tito Ortiz.
No WWE.
Let's play.
Well done, Fat.
No, somebody pulled a bottle. They pulled them apart.
Come on, England.
Good,
Good.
What, Wally?
I told Kevin about that.